from the wrestling world, rose up from the wrestling ring ranks, ring announcer, to being a janitor at that same wrestling ring for about 17 months straight.
Pay your dues.
Pay your dues, my friend.
The thing is, did I actually tell you that story?
About being a janitor at the wrestling ring for 17 months?
Well, not 17 months, but like, we'll tell that another time.
Yeah, for sure. Now you're the janitor at your own house, which is a pretty good step up.
Yeah, you know, it's not bad. You know, sometimes you just gotta fake it till you make it. But either way, we're gonna just act like these two have been playing ZSS for a couple of years now, I guess. WebbJP and Sensei are not known for their ZSS playing the Tunis, but we're seeing some pretty quality stuff here thus far in the Ditto, and obviously, like, trying to catch a hold of ZSS, like trying to grab a hold of a bar of soap in the bath. It is tough to do, and now as we're seeing, it really just comes down to who's going to win these little neutral interactions, who gets the most pokes, who gets this little nickel and dime damage just a little bit more efficiently, and right now it seems to be advantage WebbJP.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, ZSS is quite the slippery lass, to say that in pretty much the most realistic way I can, and she's going to be even that much more slippery in the fact that we have two players right now who have been picking her up for quite some time. As that down smash to up B is going to take the stock right there. First one going over to Sensei. Yeah, I mean, it's already going to be that much harder. The fact that both of these players right now are not necessarily ZSS mains, or at the very least not yet. I mean, they are just both literally working on this character for a while. Sensei, of course, one of Tri-State's most notable Snake players, formerly 15th in the great state of New Jersey's power rankings, and WebbJP, one of the finest Lucases to ever do it, in my honest opinion. Both of them whipping out ZSS this time around, just floating all over the place like a butterfly, and like right now, the pressure is pretty immaculate on the part of Sensei. He's pushing his advantage in such a way where he knows what his safe buttons are going in. And that's ZSS to a T for you, as that up smash is going to take the stock. You know, jumping in with that nair, pressing buttons. You didn't get a conversion off of it? It doesn't matter. There ain't that much end lag for it to really begin with right there. And especially against a character like ZSS, going to be that much harder to punish in the Ditto. Sensei in the advantage right now.
And Sensei at the moment, just, I mean, again, remaining ever so elusive. And all that stuff, it wasn't that he was getting any of this damage off of combos, just, again, winning these little neutral interactions, getting those jabs, and just, again, being a little bit more efficient with his offensive gambits. But Webb seeing some signs of life here but he gets the burial into the boost kick. And again, Sensei exacting in his offense. WebbJP right now needs to come up with an answer, and I don't know. The Ditto is something that a lot of ZSSs seem to struggle with, and we've seen a couple of ZSS players talk about this to a certain extent. At least when you talk about it, and when they'll bring it up at locals, they'll just express displeasure at the thought of having to play it. Now we're seeing it kind of come to life, and WebbJP is kind of living a sad life right now when it comes to that particular aspect of being a ZSS.
Honestly, just imagine a Sonic Ditto, but a lot more vertical.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. Just very, very slippery and difficult to be able to catch yourself. I mean, ZSS is, of course, one of the most mobile characters in this entire game, to say the least, and very good forward air right there. He had the stock advantage. He knew that even if he whipped that and, you know, for whatever reason didn't have his double jump to get back to the stage, it wasn't going to matter that much. He was going to be still in a much higher advantageous position than his opponent would have been right there. You know, it's so important when you're the one who's up a stock to know when it's time for you to force your advantage by holding back, and when you really need to take advantage of those little opportunities to get for you to kill your opponent. Because getting the lead isn't just about hanging back. It's about not letting certain opportunities slip you by. And that is exactly what Sensei did right there, keeping that pressure going. But anyway, the ZSS Ditto, like, I mean, the thing with ZSS is that, like I said, she's one of the most mobile characters in this entire game, if not really the most mobile, especially with her get-out-of-jail-free card and flip kick. She just took that from her mom's Monopoly kit and then just never put it back. And, before she died, of course. But then...
Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring that up, but...
I didn't put two and two together on that one. Point is, because of that
there was
mobility,
a reason I kind of looked at you there. That was,
Well, I have it full screen, so I wasn't looking at you. Nah.
Wonderful. Either way, game two.
Yeah, anyway, game two. I can count to two. That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Gotcha.
You know, because of ZSS's mobility, she normally is able to outmaneuver so many characters in this game so well, regardless of the fact that there's a universal, like, you know, 3-frame jump squat. It helps deal with her with a lot of characters in this game, but not as much as you would think because of flip kick being the amazing mobile option that it is. But against yourself, that's much different. When your opponent has those same mobility options, as that beautiful jab lock to up B right there continues, it's going to make it that much harder. To quote the not late but great Jaden Smith, my friends, how can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real?
That one way of putting it, and again, I appreciate philosophy quotes, so I definitely...
From the greatest philosophers, of course.
Of course. Oh my gosh. Well, sometimes there's just not a whole lot that you can do about that, and Webb's gotten pretty good at landing those, and it's just noticing actually that these two had switched sides of the screen, so apologies for maybe not keeping up there. But again, Sensei able to just carry WebbJP off of those off of the side of the stage, and yeah, it's a little hard to get out of that at that juncture, but I mean, it's true combos are true combos, but WebbJP, get the feeling that could have been prevented in some aspects.
Yeah, definitely could have at the very least. I mean, the color switch could have... I mean, not the color switch, but the screen switch could have definitely confused anybody, I suppose. Still just swinging for the fences right here. WebbJP now the one in the lead, but only by 30%. That is pretty much nothing for Zero Suit Samus to necessarily overcome. Just one nair with this character can lead into so much. And being the safe move that it is, man, it just sort of... What am I trying to say here is that up B out of shield takes the stock. It sort of encourages that aggressive playstyle that ZSS's can be known for, man. All that mobility, just pressing buttons in your face and then being able to get out of the way with absolutely no doubts about it. It ain't nothing to fear with ZSS, but I mean, against herself, it's when, you know, that sort of mobility battle really comes into a different play here. It's just who can really swing for the fences harder, who can, like, space their Zers a little bit better to lead up to their conversions, whose flip kicks are just a little bit smarter. It's the kind of ditto that can definitely make or break a man, I suppose, as that up B is going to take the stock. Sensei only one more away from sending WebbJP down to the loser's bracket and advancing to the winner's finals, guaranteed top 3 of this tournament and that payout. The question is, will he be able to overcome?
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, because I think we've discussed this on stream before, Nintunis. This is not a character that really necessarily denotes an aggressive playstyle. We are spoiled by living in relatively close proximity to perhaps the best CSS in the world, Mars, up in New England. And he plays a very different style of ZSS than one might think. It's a very aggressive, very in-your-face, unrelenting ZSS. And it's one that you don't really expect from a character that you said, like, basically just vertical Sonic, where you have this thing that's in your face that really could just kind of camp you out and poke at you with Plasma Whip until the cows come home, but deciding not to, instead just kind of pulling these strings on you that are very technical. And it's like, if you can handle the Ferrari around the corner and not break, then good on you, but just realize that not everyone can do it. And it seems like WebbJP and Sensei are trying to practice a version of that. Like, they're learning how to corner with the Ferraris right now, but they're doing it neck and neck. And I don't know if this is WebbJP's version of drafting, trying to jump out to this lead, but going to try to get this kill here, and will catch the jump on the up air. That felt, I don't know, that felt like I'm not going to say a guess, but that seemed very, very educated, if nothing else, Nintunist.
Hey, it's a pretty big hitbox, man. You put it out there as a call-out. It's definitely something that'll be able to catch you when you least expect it, but the thing is killing. Man, just 140, he just caught him in the worst spot for that. I mean, I gotta be honest, Sensei was making some pretty questionable decisions out of disadvantage there, some pretty rough flip kicks. He put himself off stage without a jump from time to time, to the point where he sort of forced himself to be in that position where he had to do it, but he was never really doing it to the ledge, which would have been a much safer place to really do it. He was doing it on stage, which, despite the low lag of, the low end lag of that move, it's still scary to really be putting yourself out there like that. A big thing when it comes to fighting ZSS is, can and how will your character deal with an intercept flip kick? Because you gotta respect that move from time to time, depending on if your character is not quick enough to be able to catch them, and then you just gotta be 10 times more patient against ZSS. But if your character is mobile enough, and if you're playing a mobile enough character like also ZSS, maybe you'll just really be able to have that mobility and good hitbox placement to be able to intercept her whenever she does that. In the Ditto, probably a little more awkward, but in terms of mobile characters, they're pretty good at catching ZSS's bad flip kicks off guard, and that's really the name of the game. Because at the beginning, yes, it is intangible, but there are moments in between around the apex of the flip kick where you can actually hit her. As there goes Sensei down for the first stock already. My goodness, Weber, as he's calling himself nowadays, going up the first stock.
Shout outs to Chris Webber, good basketball player, but nevertheless...
I know who that is.
Yeah, do you actually?
No.
Oh, dang. People really don't know C-Web these days. All right, anyway. But no, WebbJP, there's no timeouts to be called here. Don't worry about that. That is an old college basketball reference. But I kind of wonder about Sensei. Maybe just one of those little subconscious things. We know how well practiced a snake he is. I kind of wonder if maybe just subconsciously there's something about going above ledge that he thinks might be a little safer than it actually is, and that's why WebbJP is getting these punishes. Oh, missing on the boost kick. That's going to hurt later on. Now, WebbJP going to try to take advantage of that, keeping him off of the stage. And yet, something about it maybe making Sensei think, that going above ledge is just a little bit safer than it actually is. You know what I mean? Because that's what wound up costing him his last stock, and Sensei just eventually got caught with again that up air that you really think that your movement options are going to get you out of everything. That is not the case. They can be intercepted, and WebbJP doing that brilliantly. As we are at 2 stocks apiece, Sensei eventually tying things up, but WebbJP might be making it 2-1 soon if he's not careful.
Indeed, my friends. This is called the slow push, I suppose, and it's going to be even slower of a push now that WebbJP is only 1 stock away from advancing to the winner's final. We saw our good friend Sensei, Stu the announcer. The only kill he got so far in this game is he gets that, that's the second double jab lock to the up B right there. That's the second time he's landed that in this set, actually. It's really good to see that he has that down with his patented secondary in ZSS already. The point is, the only kill he got so far in this game was with ZSS's up throw, and that's when you know you're really pushing hard to try to get your kills with Zero Suit Samus, when those back airs aren't landing, when you're not landing those flip kicks or nair conversions, when you're just not having an easy time breaking into the neutral, when the mobility of your opponent is just that much more fluid than yours, to the point where you have to rely on a grab as ZSS to be able to land that kill, that up throw at 170%. And now you can see it, that slow push advancing even further. WebbJP still on his second stock at 102, but already almost lapping him in percent on Sensei's final one, Stu. This is how you know that right now WebbJP is doing a wonderful job taking advantage of the immense mobility of ZSS and his immense knowledge of the advantage state from playing a character who thrives off an amazing advantage state like Lucas to make it that much harder for Sensei to get in. That was beautifully played by WebbJP throughout, man. I'm sorry, and I know he's trying to disassociate, and I can fully understand that. I can understand people wanting to disassociate from someone, something, some organization, some evil organization, whatever. I can understand him trying to disassociate from Lucas a little bit, but I saw it. I saw the Lucas in there. I saw a lot of that. I saw him forcing that advantage state the way he would with the blonde little boy. Now he's just playing an adult blonde woman. What's the difference? Stu, I do believe you've muted yourself, my friend.
It makes you wonder, though, is that really just Lucas, or is that WebbJP?
That's a good point.
We have so thoroughly associated WebbJP with Lucas and vice versa, especially over the course of this quarantine, that it kind of makes you wonder at what point, one thing starts and the next one stops. Again, it's the same thing that we were talking about with Mars, right? With ZSS, where it's oh yeah, super high octane offense ZSS. It's no, there are a bunch of ZSSs that play extremely defensive.